Hi, my name is Trainin, and we are in the Tech Edge conference, and I'd like to talk with Mary Reiman about research with emergent readers, right?
Yes.
So, Mary, will you introduce yourself, please?
I will. I'm Mary Reiman, Director of Library Media Services for Lincoln Public Schools. And I love this conference because it gives us a chance to talk about the kinds of research that we're now wanting to do, starting in kindergarten. With the new language arts standards for the state of Nebraska, we have the opportunity to make sure that students starting in kindergarten are starting to do research on whatever topic they find most fascinating at the moment. And for them, really, every topic is most fascinating, and that's the great part about it. And although we all love, we will look for information and we will just search on it, we will type into Google whatever our search might be. When you're in first grade and you have a very limited vocabulary, it gets a little tricky. And so our job in Library Media Services is to help really find digital content that will help students who are emerging readers, that's what we call students who are just starting to read, will help them in their research. So we're going to be talking today about the kinds of things that they will be looking, the ways they will be looking for great information, and the ways that really make teachers, it will really be helpful to teachers and easy ways to find what they need to know. And so it's exciting.
So I think the hardest thing for teachers when I talk to teachers is to imagine what would that look like in those, kindergarten through second grade, kids are still struggling to read, they can barely find, the K on the keyboard. How do they actually go about it?
Well, the good thing is the products that and these are really subscriptions. Some of these are subscriptions. For example, we now buy World Book Encyclopedia online. So what we say is we're not your grandma's World Book anymore, because it's not those 24 sets of books. It's actually 18 different encyclopedia, and one of them is one just for emerging readers. And it's all icon driven. So they click an icon and then they'll click another icon, say they're doing research on animals, because that seems to be the most popular topic. They'll click on the animals and then they'll go to the next screen. And so it's everything is a clickable moment as opposed to needing to have any keyboarding skills. So that's really good. And another one that we use a lot, and for example, so they're starting some animal research. I love it in first grade to take in puppets. So we take a puppet, and today I'm going to have a bat puppet and a butterfly puppet. And we'll talk about these two things both fly. How are they alike and how are they different? And from there, you start with similarities. You start looking at observation. And so, and from then you can start doing research. And they understand, from at that age, they understand simple concepts. So there are really good ways to start that. Another easy one to do is to use photographs. And they find photographs, and again, they do objective, subjective observation. And that sounds more complex, but it's really just looking at something and saying, what do you see? And then what do you think is happening in that? So there are really lots of ways I think you can go about doing research without actually, what I think for many of us, what our vision is finding an information in an article and reading that. But there are lots of other ways to go about finding facts.
So what you're saying is there's a chance here to really utilize what the web has to offer through different channels, visually and not just text driven, because the text is limited.
That's right.
And we often find that even when you try to have a simple text, words get complicated whenever science or social studies come in, and we have big words. I mean, there's no way around it.
That's
so
right.
It's a way to access the same lines of thought, the same skills. And what I love about it is that early exposure to expository texts. The compare and contrast you were talking about is a classic example of that.
Exactly.
So, besides animal, what are the topics?
There are lots of things probably that are science, a lot more science related than anything else. We have we have in our early learners, one of the products, there's a section on animals in space, and one on biographies of famous people, and one on the animals, and then social studies is the newest one that just came out, and it's about, there's a section on courage and honesty and lots of the character education pieces. And the nice thing about those products also, we don't buy anything unless it is, well, for one, it's 24/7 access, meaning students can use it at school or at home, but it also has a read aloud feature. And so, and I think that's really important too, that not only are they seeing the words and the words are highlighted as it gives those words on the screen. So that really helps them too. But.
And from your conversations with teachers, what are the biggest obstacles for teachers to get there, to be able to do this? I know it's a tricky question.
Well, you know the answer is always going to be having the resources to do that. And that's really the key. And also, I would say for what they see as research, it would be the time. Because it does take a lot of time, because like you said, every student's at a different level, and for some it's going to take them a lot longer than others. Some are going to be, and so it's that diversification of both resources, because you might have a second grader who's really reading at a fourth grade level. So then how do you help them use resources that are further in, have higher reading levels? So that's probably the biggest key, and it's also helping teachers really understand what multiple literacies mean, I think, is probably the most interesting piece for us. I think it can be really fearful. You know, when they look at that piece on a report card, or they look at that in the language arts standards, it's like, what does that actually mean? The section on evaluating and analyzing information in print and non-print, they understand that. But the other pieces of that and some of that means they could podcast or create other multimedia projects. And again, those are time consuming. They take the technology, but it also is a learning curve for teachers through professional development of learning how to use that technology and be really comfortable with it. We know the kids are, and we have fabulous teachers, and they are too, but lots of times it's a combination, I would guess, of the time as well as the technology.
I think time, and going back to what you said, seeing what it looks like in a kindergarten room or first grade or second grade really helps for teachers to be able to say, I could do this. Oh, that's what you mean. And you know, I love that navigation by photograph and click is very natural, is very intuitive, does not require reading, which means all of your readers, regardless of level, can go through it. So that lowers that threshold for the teacher as well as the kids.
And that's why this conference is so great, because this is, to me, this is modeling. Every one of the people here is modeling something that they have done, and then you feel like you can go back and you're willing to risk it. You can do it too.
Okay, thank you.
You're most welcome. Have a great day.
And this is our first video cast from the Tech Edge conference.